Manchester City because Arsenal play again early, 5:30 against Fulham at the Emirates. Then they play another Champions League game at the Emirates. And it feels like coming away from that game yesterday, I mean, we had some unbelievable football Tuesday night, didn't we? PSG versus Bayern Munich was one for the ages. Last night's game had equally as much drama, but it feels like the way that Arsenal are going to approach this game against Fulham is to go more on the front foot because they didn't necessarily look nervous like they did against Newcastle. And if they go out there hypothetically and get the 3 points, that then puts immense pressure on Manchester City, who play Monday night at the Hill Dickinson Stadium away to Everton. And I said this before and I'll say this again. I understand our Arsenal fans' frustration. Losing a cup final to City and then losing in the league to City is poor. Losing to Southampton in the FA Cup, again, it's very, very poor. But if I said to every Arsenal fan, beginning of August, before the season starts, on the 30th of April, you would be going into the second leg of a Champions League semi-final with a 1-1 draw against Atletico Madrid. You'd be playing no City, playing no Real Madrid. You'd avoid PSG. You'd avoid Bayern Munich. You'd avoid pretty much all of the heavyweights, but you'd be against the tough Atletico Madrid side. You'd be in the semi-finals 1-1. And if you were to win on Saturday, albeit City you'd have 2 games in hand over City, but you'd be 6 points clear. I think most, if not all, Arsenal fans, with that hypothetical scenario given to you, you would have taken it. Now, granted, Arsenal should have capitalised on a lot of City's mistakes, but I do think Man City aren't getting enough credit throughout the season. Yes, they had a situation where Man City dropped a lot of points, but ultimately they won the League Cup. They're in an FA Cup final, and they're still one of the best teams in the world. But Arsenal are above them, and Arsenal are in the semi-final of the Champions League. Man City are not. Now, last night's game, we could talk about the situation with Simeone. We can talk about the refs. It was poor, in my opinion. I said this yesterday on a YouTube short, and I also said this on my YouTube match reaction. I do believe the referee got a lot of things wrong for both sides. I don't think it was a penalty on Ben White, and I do believe it was a penalty on Eberechi Eze. Ultimately, if it wasn't given as a penalty, then why didn't Eberechi Eze get booked for diving? No one can answer that question. But they go into this game against Fulham in a positive mindset, I believe. Make sure you go down, drop a like on the video if you haven't already. On this as well. The road to 100,000 is well and truly on. If we get 1,000 likes, that'd be absolutely glorious. And we are, I want to say, 6,767 to be precise subscribers away from hitting that big 100,000. Get over to the second channel as well. You are not going to believe Tottenham have just announced their collaboration with Peppa Pig. And I think it's fair to say that I lost my temper with it. But we're here today to talk about the Premier League title race. Now, as you can see, Arsenal are 3 points clear in a situation going in against Fulham. Now, I believe they beat Fulham. We'll be doing the weekend preview tomorrow, myself and Terry. So make sure you check that out. But they are 1 goal difference better. They're 2 goals worse off. They're 3 points better off. And Man City, I would argue, at this stage of the season, have the harder fixtures. If we look at Man City, recently they have been flawless, right? Let's just, that's absolutely ridiculous form. But these games here, you play Bournemouth, who are unbeaten in 15. But where it's going to be really tough for City is they have 4 games in 12 days. That is not easy. That is rotation. That is making sure your squad is healthy. That is making sure your squad's performing all across the ranks. 5 days between their fixture between Everton and Brentford. 4 days between their fixture between Brentford and Palace. 3 days between Palace and the FA Cup final. And that Palace fixture is their game in hand. It is Wednesday. It is under the lights. It is at the Etihad Stadium. Now, they have a lot of football to play in May. They've got, 6 games to play. I personally believe they are going to drop points in one of those 3 games between Palace, Brentford, and Everton. The question then will be is if they do drop points, Can Arsenal capitalise? Now, again, Arsenal play a lot of their fixtures between now and the end of the season before Manchester City do. Now, yes, they've got one less game, but they could have a Champions League final to play in May as well. Now, Crystal Palace away isn't easy, but I do believe Crystal Palace will make the Conference League final. Burnley, they will comfortably beat, in my opinion. Fulham, I think they will beat as well. It comes down to that West Ham game. Now, recently, in the last couple of years, they played West Ham. Bukayo Saka missed a penalty, and ultimately that they slipped up. I think they beat Fulham, they beat Atletico Madrid, they beat Burnley. West Ham, I have a question mark. This is where we will find out if Arsenal want to go and win the league. This is where we will find out if Arsenal have what it takes to get that Premier League title over the line. Now, I do believe they beat Atletico Madrid, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think it will be Bayern Munich versus Arsenal in the Champions League final, and it comes down to Harry Kane. Is he going to make us proud? Is he not going to make us proud? That's what it comes down to for me. I personally think it's going to be a very, very, very interesting weekend. The fact that Manchester City aren't playing until Monday, I think that adds more pressure for them personally. I don't know what you guys make of it. Do you think this is going to be equally? Do you think it's going to be a difficult game going away to Everton, who are in decent-ish form? Well, not in decent-ish form, but they're a decent side this season. They're battling it out for, there's only a couple of points separating 7th to 11th. If Everton were to beat Manchester City, they potentially could go as high as 7th. It's incredibly tight and congested in the middle of the Premier League. But Man City, when you look at their recent form, there isn't anything to really say they are going to slip up. When you look at their win against Chelsea, their win against Arsenal, their win against Burnley. People criticise massively Arsenal's 1-0 win over Newcastle. Why weren't people criticising Manchester City's 1-0 win over Burnley? Ultimately, we all want consistency, right? If you say one thing about one club, you have to, hold it for the other football club. For me, I think it's going to be a very, 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 very interesting weekend of football. I really, really do. Now, what I would say is Manchester City, if they beat Everton and beat Brentford, I think they win the Premier League. I do think they'll slip up in one of those games, but if they prove me wrong and go out there, they've still got to play Bournemouth and they've still got Aston Villa. They definitely have the harder fixtures. But if they beat Everton and beat Brentford, I think they're then